Hey everyone, it's Nixie, and in this video, I want to go over the deck that I brewed up and took to Battle Hardened SeaTac that happened last weekend, and my results from that tournament. It was the first time I took this deck outside of Talishar that I've been grinding quite a bit there since Mistveil dropped, so wasn't sure how this deck would actually perform. And while I was brewing this deck, I've been getting a lot of messages from a lot of people about my thoughts about Dory in the new meta, because a lot of people seem to be very down on Dory after the release of Mistveil. Like Enigma, for example, is super difficult since she can run a lot of defense reactions and have a lot of methods with instants and ward effects to prevent Dawnblade from ever hitting. The other hero Nu can be very disruptive and can also be aggressive, as well as pivot to fatigue, so she could be very difficult. And the last one, Zen, can just high roll you and race faster than Dory, sometimes even faster than what Lexi could have done. So people ask me if Dory's still viable, or should we just switch off to some other hero if you want to get a win. And I think maybe you should switch if you want to get an easier win to play a different meta hero. But that's up to you on how easy or hard you want that win. I personally just enjoy playing Dorothea no matter her place in the meta, and plan to stay with her until she Living Legends. So I'm gonna stick it out in this new meta. But I'm not going to just play her at a mediocre level and just be like, oh, that's all she is, she's just kind of like junk right now, but I'm playing her. No, I'm just gonna still grind and try to find the deck that I need to be able to have the most advantage into all these heroes. So I've been grinding and testing quite a few lists and all these different cards, building the deck from the ground up, trying to take things out that I was like, oh, I was never gonna move away from, but felt like maybe I need to change my train of thought and try new things. And this is the deck that I came up with, and I think it does pretty well into the current meta. And before I go over the list, I want to always say thanks to you for watching, as well as my patrons for supporting me. I'm very happy that you guys are enjoying my content. We're almost at 1,000 subs, which is very exciting. I will announce in another video about a giveaway that I want to do, so stay tuned for that. Alright, so let's get into the deck that I brought to Battle Hardened SeaTac. The link can be found in the description below. So here's the deck. Pretty much have 55 main board, 20 cards for sideboarding. The game plan of this deck that I built up was to have a mix-up of attack reactions, as well as disruptive attack actions to follow up the go again from a weapon swing. So I have the normal CNCs for attack actions, but I also have things like Censor, Exude, as well as the weakest link, which has been pretty strong. New card that I think I might play all the time now. And in this list, what I took out that might be very shocking is Red Warrior's Valor. And there's no yellow ones too, but there are some blues. But I took those out, which has always been a staple, because in this deck, I really prioritized guaranteed go-agains so I can follow up with an attack action if it ever gets blocked out. So I have things like Spoils again, I also have Glistening, Precision Press, 3 of that instead of 3 of Warrior's Valor, and some Agile windups here. So that, if they ever block me out or overblock, I could play out an attack action to follow up and they still get hit. Or if they don't block out because they don't know what I'm gonna do with the mix-up, then they could just eat it, and then I'll just swing again with my second swing, and maybe they will let that hit since the first one hit, and I'll just keep my attack action. And next turn, I'll swing again, hopefully with a go again source, with a stronger Dawnblade with a counter on it. And at that point, they're kind of forced to try to block me out, or maybe even overblock because they don't want my Dawnblade to get bigger. And that's when I hit them with something like Command and Conquer to punish them. So you might ask, why these attack actions? Why not just run more reactions? You can see I'm just running Response, Blade Flurry, Puncture, 1 route. I don't have like Overpower here. I have a blue overpower. I don't have a yellow or red. I don't have much routes. I don't have Alpha Blood. Well, for one, these attack actions are just more efficient than attack reactions. So you can look here, let's say right here, like this red Overpower. It costs 3 and you can get 6 damage in. So 3 for 6. But things like Weakest Link here is a 2 for 6. So it's more efficient. You could do 2 cost 6 damage with like 2 attack reactions, but that's 2 extra cards you have to hold to do 2 for 6 more damage. So it's not that efficient. And you know, you always have to make sure that you're gonna get damage through after they overblock, because if they overblock, you can't go over, then your turn just ends. So if they overblock and you can play an attack action, they kind of wasted that one other block. So it's very good to push damage through, and that's also very important into decks like Enigma that will tend to overblock with cards from hand and then a defense reaction. And then you could just keep on pressing damage through and clear those wards. The second point is that these attack actions I'm running is, again, disruptive. So they're not just pushing damage, they're just doing something else on top of it. So like this Weakest Link will help against Enigma with those instants, or those cards that transcend Art of Wars, and also against Brutes with all their non-defensive cards. Very good. Censor also against Ninja, and as well as Zen right now to name Bonds or Crouching Tiger. Censor is very important into Zen, because usually when they'll try to combo off on the 3rd or 4th turn, and if you're able to throw this out before they are able to go off, it's very punishing for them. Usually Zen will just let you get 1 to 2 counters, but they're gonna try to hit back for like 40 damage. So even if you get 1 to 2 and you don't disrupt them, as Dory, you kind of like end up losing. So the hope is that you get those 2 counters and then you play out Censor after that, and which puts them behind. Exude, I just have a 1 of, because I find it kind of very neat interaction. If I'm able to play something that gives agility, like the Lead with Speed or Agile Wind Up to have an agility token beforehand, then I played Exude, so this has Go Again, and as long as I don't break the chain, the whole combat chain will have this effect on it, as long as the opponent doesn't block with something higher powered. So playing this against Enigma could be very strong. Also, just a 0 for 4 after a blocked out attack is still nice. And I also have cards like Yellow Hit and Run, just 1 of them, so that I could hopefully swing twice and then play out that attack action afterwards. So that's the Ethereal deck, and it did very well in Tower Shard testing. But how did it do at the 130-person Battle Hardened event? Well, let's go into the matchups that I faced. First one was against a Decimator Olympia. When I first sat across this, I was pretty worried because Decimator usually has a pretty good advantage into Dawnblade. So I was expecting to just get fatigued and just get grinded out and lose. But this person's list really wanted to make use of the new Visit the Golden Anvil card that made the deck a bit more aggressive with only 6 defense reactions and relying on them to renew their equipment and be able to use that gold and do a lot of pop-off things. However, they ended up having to pitch their visits pretty early in the game, and I really denied a lot of their gold generation, so they couldn't really get going. And at the end, I was able to kill them with the lethal blue overpower. So I got a win there. The second game was against the Zen. In this game, I was able to choose to go second and was able to get an early pop-off by playing out Glistening Churn, Churn 1, which forced an overblock. But I also had a Twinning Blade to go around that overblock, and I was able to still get 1 hit in to get 1 counter. Then on the next turn, I played Supremacy, and at this time he didn't block because I guess he had a really good hand. So I then followed up with a blue hit and run after the hit, and got a Go Again, and then sent out the CNC after that hit, which forced some equipment blocks that he didn't want to use at the time. On his turn, he played out 2 double Art of Wars, and then 2 Bonds line, thanks to a Shifting Winds that he was able to play out. But I was able to get extra cards from Balance of Justice and do some blocking with armor to keep a pretty good hand size. And on my turn, I swung back with 2 counters on Downblade, which forced a lot of blocks to try to reset, but I was able to get over with a route. And from there, I just kept on snowballing, and eventually he just died to a Spoils that I swung for 3 counters or 4 counters that he overblocked completely with everything that he's got, and then I played a CNC when he was at like 3 health. So that got me the win there. Third game was against Azalea. The game plan for this matchup is for me to be very aggressive when possible and force them to overblock with some of their strong cards, because all their cards are tuned offensively and doesn't block well. So if I could pressure them, they're going to start blocking with their good cards. And then once they don't have any good cards left, I switch to Fatigue with the defense reactions and Oasis and win from there. But sometimes I do the opposite of being defensive kind of in the beginning, and then once I don't have them defense reactions, I turn on the gas and just go really hard. And that's what happened in this game. I was able to stuff a lot of their dominated Red in the Ledgers and big hits with Red Shunts and Oasis, and swing back to threaten a counter, and I eventually got to like 2 counters. Then on his turn, he came with a pretty big arrow, but with just damage, nothing too disruptive. And so I just took it and swung back with the Glistening Supremacy Twinning combo and got the win there. The fourth game was against Nu. In this game, I tried to play the Fatigue strategy where I kind of fat deck and try to be very disciplined about not being too greedy, trying to swing twice if possible to threaten a counter, but mostly being defensive and not allowing them to get their banishes off. So that's what I was doing, and we were going back and forth for a while. But eventually I got to a point where I was able to play a Supremacy turn that the opponent just blocked out with equipment and defense reaction from Arsenal, and I had 0 resources left. So they thought I can't get over, but then I went to get over with Blade Flurry because that doesn't require anything. So I was able to hit for 2 and was able to draw and hit again. From there, I was able to steal a lot of tempo. I noticed that this Nu was a bit more aggressive since I only saw sinks. So once that was all used up, I knew that I could be more aggressive because they won't have the defense reactions ready. So then I took quite a few damage on some turns to be able to hit back much harder. The Nu tried to set up a Cosmic Awakening turn with 2 Chis, but didn't get to draw the 3rd Chi, so really couldn't play it, and then lost a lot of momentum there as well. And then on the last turn, he tried to not play around the attack reaction because that was the only way that he would win, and thankfully I had a singing still left, so I was able to get over a swing and swing again for lethal. And then I was 4-0 at this big event. And at this point, I'm super excited because I'm doing super well. Only decks left in the top tables are big top meta contenders like Zen, Enigma, Nu, Azalea, and KO. And then people see me on Dory and are surprised. Here's a pic of me at table number 1 with my opponent before our game 5. And when I sit across from him, I'm hoping it's not Enigma because I feel pretty good into all the other heroes that are on top tables. But of course, I know that he's on Enigma after I see his hero, and I get pretty sad. But we start playing. Against Enigma, I do have a plan because of those attack actions that I follow up with, but things just didn't really line up for me. I did some questionable plays as well. One that stands out to me was that I had a hand of Spoils, 2 blues, Blade Flurry, and a CNC in Arsenal. And the opponent has some auras already established on the board. And he ended up swinging with the aura for 4 damage, which I decided to block with one of the blues. Then on my turn, I play the Spoils and swing, which he perfect blocks. And then I play out Blade Flurry, which is blocked with an obvious defense reaction because he perfect blocked. And then I don't have enough resources to play out the CNC that had an Arsenal. So by blocking with that blue card, I lost 6 damage on clearing the board. So that was a big misplay. I did have a pretty cool play later on when he had a big mirror guy on the board with like 5 counters that he had for like 2-3 turns, which was pretty strong and devastating me. And he was really trying to protect it with everything he could. So I play out a hit and run, then swing, which he overblocks. Then I follow up with the Exude Confidence, which he blocks with a card and Tunic for 4 damage. And then I play Route on the Exude Chain Link, targeting the Dawn Blade that was on the previous Chain Link to bounce back that card back to his hand and kill Miragai. He was gonna try to play some instants to prevent the damage, but he couldn't because of the Exude preventing any instants and defense reactions from happening. So that was very cool, but at that point the game was pretty lost. And he eventually ends up killing me. I think it was really bad, like 35-0 or something. It was very bad. But huge props to him. He played very well, and he eventually goes to go undefeated in Swiss, so I don't feel too bad. So now I'm 4-1. Next game is against Nu, piloted by Pankaj. This game was very close and was going back and forth quite a bit. Life totals at the end of the game was in the single digits, and he knew I had a snag in Arsenal because he played a Siren's Call earlier and took a different card other than a snag. So that's the only card he knows I have left in Arsenal. And he had to play around that snag in Arsenal for like 3 to 4 turns. I still had a very thick deck that I was running because I was trying to again fatigue him, and he was running out of cards. But he did have the tempo because I was blocking quite a bit. Then time was called. I played out my churn, and he lived at like 3 life. He then swung back with a Bonds of Agony, which, you know, after thinking about it for a bit, I didn't want both of us to draw because that would suck a lot. So I just decided to no block, and then he played just a Nick to pump it up more, and I didn't play my snag and just let him kill me because, yeah. I think he would eventually win, but I don't know. I think I could still maybe come back, but definitely want to play with him again next time. It was a very fun game. And, you know, eventually he won the whole event, so congrats to him. And yeah, it was a very tough loss because now I am 4-2 after going 4-0. And I think at that point, I could still make top 8 if I just win my last 2 games. So I go to the next game, and it's Peter on Kano. Which is not favored for me at all. So my approach to this matchup is I'm going to run AB1, I'm going to race you, and I have 3 Ois in my deck. I need to draw them in the first 2 turns, at least one of them, so I could Arsenal it to prevent the wildfire. So you start playing, and I draw up no Oasis, I just swing, he blocks out, and I just Arsenal. Next turn, I draw up, no Oasis yet. He sends a red Spindle, which I AB1 and take 4. He opts 4. He Arsenals. And then on my turn, I play a hit and run, lead with speed, and swing. He doesn't block, so I swing with my last resource for 3. I have no cards left, only an Arsenal, no resource left. I think I'm okay because there's no way he got Wildfire on turn 0 or turn 1 for him and have all these blues to go off. But yeah, that's what he had. He had all these blues, and he had a Wildfire in Arsenal, and he does Wildfire things, and I just die. So I die in first like 3 minutes. Yeah, that was a pretty miserable way to go out for sure. Going 4-3 after going 4-0. But you know, I don't think this deck is bad. I think it's still very good. I may have gotten a bit unlucky, but I think it could do decently well. There's definitely some tweaks I want to do here and there, so I'm still going to be testing. But I think it's a pretty good spot for you guys to try it out and maybe have you guys tweak it as well. And let me know your thoughts. One interesting thing that happened though throughout this whole event was that all my opponents, when they sit and see Dory, they just assume I'm on hatchets, so they're feeling relaxed and they had a game plan. As soon as I attack with a Dawnblade, all of them are like, wait, you're playing Dawnblade? Oh no, what'd I do? So that was a fun reaction to see that not many people were ready to see the Downblade again. So yeah, that was just a quick chat and update on this deck and my report on the Battle Harden. I hope everyone tries to keep on innovating their Dorinthia deck and try out new things. I don't think she is done quite just yet. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching and catch you guys next time.